welcome Roger, welcome Joy, and welcome everybody. It is 12:30 here locally, so it's 12:30 p.m. here on Vancouver Island, and we're located off the west coast of Canada. And we're going to start walking along a 4.5 kilometer. Now we're not going to walk all of it, but we're going to just kind of journey along a 4.5 kilometer stretch here of the Nanaimo boardwalk, the waterfront walk, and just show you parts of Nanaimo's waterfront area that you have not yet seen with me. I want to show you what I'm looking at. It is a British Columbia ferry. It's one of the BC ferries, and this is a ferry that will, in about an hour's time, will be heading off to Gabriola Island. And you can see the docking mechanisms. These white mechanisms at the side are the docking mechanisms. At the front, there's a bit of a runway for the cars to pull on, and this does take vehicles. I'm sitting right behind, if I spin around and look behind us, so it's a beautiful place to live and have an apartment. And it's a beautiful place, guys, to start our journey today along the waterfront here of Nanaimo. And this waterfront area was built back in the late 80s. 1987 is when it was opened. As I mentioned, it is about a 4.5 kilometer walkway that shows off Nanaimo Harbour's attractions. Look at this little friend here, a seagull. Of course, seagulls are very common in this area. Let me just zoom in so you get a nice little picture of our friend. We're going to call him Greg the Gull. And there's Greg. He'll take off pretty quick. So if you're really fast, you'll be able to get a picture of him taking off. I don't know. I like taking pictures of birds taking off. Okay, I'm going to walk towards them. So get your finger ready on that postcard button. And we'll see if we can get a picture of him taking off. There, did you get it? Well, out in front of us here are two islands that we're going to talk about near the conclusion. So you'll want to hang around for that. There's Protection Island on our right, and directly across from us on kind of the left side of the screen is Newcastle Island. This is the W.E. Mills Landing Marina. It's a 600-foot pier, and off of, now we were on just now a little spit called Cameron Island. And it was originally meant to moor short and long-term users that were a little bit too big for the regular marina. And so what it attracts is a lot of these yachts and a lot of these bigger vessels. And so this, of course, is a yacht you can see here. And behind it, another yacht. And we're going to walk up to the front and look at them from a few different angles. And then on our right is some of the workhorses here of the harbor. And of course, you see a tugboat here. Tugboat, and anybody ever been on? Thanks, Victor. Been on a tugboat in real life? This is a tugboat here. So these guys do the bulk of the hard labor here. There are two Mo's on the tour now, and they are both at least Mo's excited. Oh, that's so good. And then this is another workhorse here of the harbor, and this is a spill response vehicle. And so this boat will head out if there's a spill at all, thank you, Anne, in the water. And so here, like I say, here's just some of the yachts that moor here. And this is an area of the harbor that I've never shown you before. We've seen it from a distance, but so many of these beautiful yachts. And maybe someday we'll figure out how to get on one of these yachts, you guys. Well, let me show you the next shot, because what's in front of me is, I never get tired of wandering around harbors and just looking at the activity, and the water is so peaceful today. We're in a little park now, and this little park is called McGregor Park. It's across from those apartments that we saw just a few minutes ago. We're just walking along the Nanaimo Harbour here, and I love the way that we're literally in the middle of a city. We're transitioning now from the boardwalk and this walking path, and we're going to jump actually onto the harbor docks. This harbor dock system, and it leads to a number of personal floats for boats to come up, and the first thing we see is the Protection Island ferry. Now, if you were at the beginning of this tour, right at the beginning, I pointed out across the water, and we'll see them again, don't worry, but I showed you Protection Island and Newcastle Island. Well, this is the ferry boat that takes you over to Protection Island. And also, as you see on the sign, also to the Dinghy Dock Pub. Well, what is the Dinghy Dock Pub? Well, the Dinghy Dock Pub is, and by the way, just to give you some of you are going to ask the questions eventually, what does it cost to get over to Protection Island? Well, it costs $12 if you're an adult for a round trip. So we're leaving now. We've just been walking along the dock, and we're going to take a hard left now. And we're going to head up off the waterfront, just a few feet, through another little park, onto the main road. But we're going to that main road because I want to show you that bastion, that little castle that we saw from across the harbor. You guys will see it in a moment. It's that castle-looking item. But let me give you a little bit of background, because the bastion really is very central to the city of Nanaimo here. Again, established in 1860 by European settlers, and for a millennia before that, a traditional place of fishing and life for First Nations people. Harbor. There it is. Put the Canadian flag in there, and we'll get a couple of different shots of it for those of you taking postcards today. There we go, and of course the Coastal Bastion Hotel beside it. So this is the waterfront plaza, everyone. 20,000 square feet. And it's home to Nanaimo's Farmers Market on Fridays in the spring and summer and into the early fall. And available to the public for many activities and special events. And I don't know, can you hear the car honking? The horn honking down below us is actually a parkade. I hope that's not my car alarm going off. Oh well. It'll stop eventually, I'm sure. So this looks like a ship, but it's not. This is actually stairs and a unique installation feature here over the harbor area here in Nanaimo. And it was put in around the same time in the late 90s when this whole area was, or in the late 80s, pardon me, when all this area was put together. So summer lasts here from, well, this year we had a terrible summer. I've got to be honest with you, Melinda. Summer didn't start in proper until almost the end of June, early July. And now today we've got our first taste of the fall with the clouds blowing in and a little bit of, my goodness, that alarm just keeps going and going. But what this does is it gives you a beautiful lookout over the harbor. And there's Protection Island right across from us on the far side of the harbor. And that's where our dinghy dock ferry would go to. All right, heading down the stairs, back down to the harbor walkway, the proper harbor walkway now. And we'll continue along. We're going to head towards Mofeo Sutton Park now, which may be familiar to some of you who have come on my crab dock tour before. And we're going to take a walk down to that. Now, this area that we're in now is an area that we've walked down before at the conclusion of my historic old quarter Nanaimo and Arts District Nanaimo tour that I sometimes run. So for some of this, for the next 100 feet, it'll be familiar to you. But then we're going to go beyond that, take you to a whole new place that you've never seen before. And that's what I'm excited about. So there's little ice cream shops, and there's a whale watching place down here. I've gone whale watching with them a couple of times, which is great. Let's see what their weekly whale fact is that they want to share with us here. This week's is about humpbacks, and it says this. It says humpbacks feed our oceans with their poop. Here's a fun fact for you. It's full of nitrogen, iron, and phytoplankton. That phytoplankton rely on. Phytoplankton feeds all the smaller fish, the base of the marine ecosystem. So there's your fun weekly fail fact. Let's just take a little peek in here, and we'll see what we've seen. So yesterday, I don't know if you can see that really well, but yesterday it's saying that it was a sunny day, and they saw bald eagles and harbor seals and stellar lions and turkey vultures and a great blue heron, along with some orcas and some humpback whales. And so if you ever have the chance, so now you've got, oh, you know what? There was a gentleman talking on his phone behind me. I wonder if that was causing issue. Anyway, regardless, if you ever get the chance to come to Vancouver Island, I really, really want to recommend that you get yourself onto a whale watching boat, heading out and enjoying the whales that can be seen from there. And they're just, it's so much fun to get out on those and to head out. You just can't miss it. Next time you come to Vancouver or Vancouver Island, you've got to go on those whale sighting tours. And they give you a little guarantee as well. They say, we guarantee you'll see a whale, or you get a credit and your next trip is free. And so I always recommend, if you're coming here, that's a nice shot there looking down the water, isn't it? Wow. Well, Linda asked a great question. She says, do I need a passport if I'm a U.S. citizen to visit Canada? Yeah, you do. You do need a passport. It's another country, and you need a passport to get in, and just like if you were traveling anywhere else. So make sure you get that when you get set to come and visit us, and come along. We'd love to host you and have you here. It would be absolutely great. So this is an area we've never seen before. I've never taken you walking down this part of the boardwalk. And again, this is part of a 4.5 kilometer walk that goes along the seafront here. It starts very close to where we were by the Gabriola Ferry, and it continues all the way down past the Yacht Club and along to Departure Bay, where the large ferry that goes over to Vancouver, the proper continental North America, goes. You can see a lot of the harbor planes, the seaplanes that are terminaled here. So whether it's the Sunshine Coast Air or whether it's the more popular Harbor Air that flies out of Nanaimo, whether that's to Victoria or over to Vancouver or across even to do a tour around the island. We had some friends here from Germany a couple of weeks ago, and they went on a trip around Vancouver Island and saw some of the mountains in the center of the island, and actually one of the glaciers. Yes, Vancouver Island is a large island. We have a chain of mountains, and we have glaciers as well. And that's the one that we travel down when we go on our crab tour. So that's the crabbing dock, and all those people along there are either crabbing or they're watching people who are crabbing. Now, I hadn't planned to take you down that fishing pier and crab dock, but if you would like to, we can zip down there quick. Now, usually I go down and we spend a bunch of time down there on that particular tour, but today, I think if it works out for you, we'll zip down it, we'll take a look, we'll see if we see any crabs, and then we'll zip back off. And it also will give us a really good picture from the end of it of the dinghy dock, which we've talked about on Protection Island, and also Newcastle Island along the way. There's no paved roads on the island, so some people move along the island in golf carts. They do have some cars there, but it's all just, dirt roads and such. And we saw some of the boats that locals come across from the island, and they will land here in the Nanaimo Harbour. There's a nice picture as well. We've got so many great postcard shots here, especially with those clouds in the background today, don't we? And they'll boat over from the island, and they'll park in the harbour that we saw, and they'll go and get their groceries or do their errands that they have here in the city. This is Mofeo Sutton Park in front of us here. I can hear a band that's playing there. Lots of activity down this direction. If we were to go that direction, lots of activity, but we're going to turn to our right and we're going to head towards that piers or the docks that are down here, the fishing docks and such. And then of course to our left, we've got Newcastle Island, and it's just going to be seen just as we come out from behind those trees there across from Protection Island, which is to the right. You guys see it popping out there now behind those trees in the distance. So that is a provincial park. So it's a protected park area right now. It's called Seisutsun. Seisutsun is the First Nations word of that park. Seisutsun Provincial Park. There's also a ferry for that park. It takes, again, $12 round trip, just like to Protection Island. Thanks, Barbara. I took my eyes off the chat for just a moment, and I realized that a couple people may have tipped. So if you've tipped and I missed your name, I just want to acknowledge that and say thank you very, very much. Protection Island is, that word, Seisutsun, means train for running. It refers to the special places where the First Nations people would train for running, but also for battles and such over there. That was their traditional land for that kind of training. And you can see the little tent to our left on that little dock there, and that's where the ferry for Newcastle, Seisutsun Island, docks there. In the past on that island has included not only being home to the coastal Salish people, but in more recent years, coal mines run by the Hudson Bay Company, the turn of the 1800s to the 1900s. There were actually tunnels to the adjacent Protection Island where people could go back and forth on, which I find fascinating. They're collapsed now, they're no longer there, but they were. And there was a very successful resort there run by Canadian Pacific railroads in the mid-30s and 50s in the 1900s. And again, now provincial park. And if you head over there, and I'm hoping to head over there one day. In fact, when this tour is done, I may hop on a ferry and go over and see what the reception's like. So I'm hoping to get there at one point with you guys. Because there's also albino raccoons that live over there. The only place in the world where there are white albino raccoons is right there in front of us in Newcastle. Now, I don't know if we'd see one, but so can I show a few dozen people on a live stream you jumping in the water? There he goes. Whoa! Now it's still summer, so the water's not too cold, probably about 10 to 12 degrees Celsius, but still
really cold.
A little bit nippy. Does it feel a little bit cold today?
It is really cold.
Yeah. So why are you jumping in the water, man? Because
you drank too much.
That's the hangover refreshment, is it?
Yeah.
All right. Why aren't you? Well, the question is, why aren't you jumping in the water? No good reason, man. You got to get. You're next. When I come back, I'm expecting it.
You gotta go next.
There you go. Right? Oh, that's so funny, you guys. I love meeting crazy people who are doing unique things like jumping into the ocean on a crisp Sunday afternoon. Okay, so we're going to head quickly down here, take a look at the end of the crab dock, see if we can see some crabs, and then we'll head back. And so this gentleman here, he is pulling in a crab trap that he's thrown out. It's probably sat there for about 10, 15 minutes, and now he's pulling it out to see if he's caught anything. There are red rock crabs here. Oh, and he does. Now, whether they'll be big enough to keep is the question. No, they look like they're probably too small. So there are a couple types of crabs, and if you come on my crabbing tour with me, you'll see them. There they are.
You want to keep filming?
Yeah, you just do your thing. That's okay.
Let them go.
They're too. Yeah, of course they're too small to keep, aren't they? Oh, who's this? Who's this? Say hi to Heygo. Hi, Heygo. I hope you guys are clipping some good pictures right now.
Hey, buddy.
Hello. There we go, a little pet. We'll pet him for you guys. All right. There you go. All right, so you have now seen, I didn't expect to get a crab that quick. So you guys have now seen the crabs. We're going to talk a little bit more about the crabs on another tour. So if you've never been on the crab tour, dock tour that I do, make sure you go to my channel and look that up and hit a notification bell. And next time when I'm on the dock, I will take you along with me, and I will tell you all about the crabs that are here, the different types, because there's at least 2 types. I'll tell you about which ones they can keep, which ones they have to throw back, the restrictions, as Barbara asked about them. So I'll let you know all about that on my other tour. But for now, we pet a crab this morning, and that was pretty cool. So I would say that gets a thumbs up. That's a win. Yeah! If you're